Now at 9, the annual Walnut Day celebration kicked off this morning for Labor Day weekend. Plus, the Miami Fairgrounds is hosting the Oklahoma Beatdown Derby this evening. And Christine's Curiosity celebrates with the community after being open for a year.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Walnut Days is back around just in time for the fall. This is your KOAM News at 9. I'm Jalen Banks. To celebrate Labor Day weekend, Walnut Days is kicking off part of the event, and part of it will have cancer-free screenings. An average of people that attend the fair, over 100 people receive screenings at the celebration. The celebration is hosted by the Vulcan Masonic Lodge.
My sister's grandfather-in-law was the honorary Grand Marshal today. He passed away earlier this year, and he has been an integral part of our antique tractor pull and our kitty tractor pull for many, many years. He was the fire chief for our rural fire department here in town, and we miss him greatly. His loss was very much felt this year, and we wanted to do something to honor him, so his family walked in his honor today.
To find more events going on this Labor Day weekend, you can find them on our website at koamnewsnow.com. Today is the 57th annual MoCan Labor Day weekend funny car race. The race consists of huge burnouts, rattling tires, and occasionally rolling cars. The race consists of 36 cars competing for the grand prize of $25,000. Officials say events like this helps build the community.
Well, I think it's really good for the local economy. As I say, there's a lot of out-of-town visitors here today. There's probably 3,000 people on hand, and I'll bet 1,500 of them drove 100 miles or more to get here. So good for the economy, and I think there's just a lot of racing lovers in this area.
Tag a driver say drivers because the events like this one are used to highlight the drag race community and help the local economy. Justin Manahan tells me that this event has been going on for a while, and it's known as the Oklahoma Beatdown. This event will feature, crashing into cars and things of that nature. The Crystal Store in Webb City is celebrating its second anniversary. Christine's Curiosity is celebrating its second anniversary by hosting a fair, inviting vendors from all over the city. People from all over came by for some crystals, jewels, and cards. Christine says her crystals brings healing to people.
Honestly, I think it's important because a lot of people use stones not just for the aesthetic but for the healing properties that a lot of them have and the other metaphysical properties. I just like to be able to help where I can, and in this world that is insane, if a shiny rock makes it better, all the better for that.
To find more stores and local vendors, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. We've had consistent heat all summer. Let's see if that continues. Sam, what do we have in weather?
Yeah, it's been pretty warm all summer long, including right into the holiday weekend. And we even had some thunderstorms earlier this afternoon and evening. You can see on radar here as it goes in motion. Most of the storms were on the western sections of our area. A few did get close to the metro, but most of the severe weather was down in Oklahoma, and that's where we want it to stay. Temperatures this afternoon made it up to 87 here in Joplin, which was above normal. But of course, we weren't close to the record of 102 back in 1954. Now stay tuned, because we're having a complete weekend forecast coming straight up, so stay with us.
NASA is working to determine when it will make another attempt to launch Artemis 1. Officials say it could be delayed until next month. The agency called off its second launch attempt earlier today. Jonathan Series at the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, in Florida, with more.
Engineers discovered the leak where an 8-inch fuel line supplies super cold liquid hydrogen to the rocket's fuel tank. They allowed it to warm up, stop the fueling process momentarily, hoping that when they restarted it manually that they would be able to reseal the connection, but the leak appeared once again, so NASA scrubbed the launch.
We do not launch until we think it's right. And these teams have labored over that, and that is the conclusion that they came to.
This is the second launch attempt to be scrubbed because of problems detected during the fueling process. On Monday, it was a faulty sensor that led engineers to believe one of the engines wasn't cooling properly. That's a concern because the liquid hydrogen rocket fuel is extremely cold.
The liquid hydrogen is minus 423 degrees Fahrenheit, so you don't want that coming into a warm Florida day 90-degree engine and hitting it like that. So we want to make sure those engines are nice and cool before we start flowing that cold propellant in there.
The Space Launch System, or SLS rocket, and its Orion space capsule have never been flown before. NASA wants to test both spacecraft with an uncrewed mission around the moon before they put astronauts on board for a future mission in 2024. Now, Artemis 1 has another opportunity to launch, but that's contingent on ground crews being able to repair the rocket while it's still on the launch pad. If it has to be slowly wheeled back into the massive vehicle assembly building for more in-depth repairs, NASA officials say you're likely looking at mid-October before it'll have another chance to launch. At the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Jonathan Siri, Fox News.
President Biden says he wants to focus on economic investment. After Friday's August jobs report showed employers added 315,000 new jobs in August. The president says that's a sign that inflation will be easing. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is at the White House with more details.
President Biden appeared upbeat talking about the latest jobs report, and he says he's optimistic about the American economy.
The bottom line is jobs are up, wages are up, people are back to work, and we're seeing some signs that inflation maybe, I'm not overpromising it, may be beginning to ease.
According to the new August jobs report, 315,000 new jobs were added. But that's a 40% decrease compared to the more than 500,000 jobs added in July. Unemployment ticked up to 3.7% from 3.5% in July. The Republican National Committee said, quote, hardworking Americans are living paycheck to paycheck thanks to Joe Biden and Democrats' higher prices, higher taxes, and lower wages. As long as Democrats continue to rubber stamp Biden's agenda and waste taxpayer dollars on their radical policies, families will continue to struggle to afford everything from gas to school supplies to groceries. Speaking in front of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the former capital of the United States, complete with red lighting and flanked by 2 United States Marines, President Biden mentioned the MAGA acronym 13 times.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Fox News followed up with the president a day later.
Mr. President, do you consider all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country?
No, everyone. Come on, look, guys. You keep trying to make that case. I don't consider any Trump supporter a threat to the country.
The price of gasoline has continued to fall from its record high back in June, but remains 60% higher than when President Biden was sworn into office. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
We now take time to honor one of our four-state heroes. William Eller, a Pittsburgh native, served in the Army and Navy. He served in Iraq and was a part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He also served in the 891st Engineer Battalion. To William Eller, we thank you, our four-state hero. And coming up, how a pair of socks can now remind you to work out. And now we take a look at some of our top health stories from this weekend. 2 new studies find that eating too much ultra-processed food significantly increases the risk of cancer and early death. Some common ultra-processed foods include cookies, French fries, frozen pizza, and ready-to-eat meals. One study was conducted in Italy. The other, in the U.S., looked at the diets of more than 200,000 people. It found that men who ate a lot of ultra-processed food had a 29% higher risk of developing colon cancer compared to those with lower consumption. The study also found that women did have a higher risk of colon cancer if they ate more pizza or ready-to-eat meals. The second study examined more than 22,000 people in Italy. Researchers found that ultra-processed foods played a major role in the risk of early death. September is National Cholesterol Education Month. Its purpose is to educate people about the dangers of high cholesterol and to encourage them to get their cholesterol levels checked. About 94 million people in the U.S. have high cholesterol. That puts them at greater risk for heart disease, the leading cause of death in the U.S. High cholesterol can be caused by a poor diet, a lack of exercise, or smoking. The National Cholesterol Education Program recommends people older than 20 to get their cholesterol checked every 5 years. Health officials are hoping signs of monkeypox decline in the nation's epicenter indicate more good news ahead. New data ending August 30th shows monkeypox cases wane in New York City. A 7-day rolling average shows an 82% decline from just 2 weeks ago. Officials hope that's a good omen for cases dropping across the country. Cases have been concentrated among male-to-male sexual contact, including gay, bisexual, transgender, and non-binary. About 20,000 total infections have been reported, with at least 31 cases among children. How your workout may benefit you in the near future. A Wall Street Journal report provided ways our workouts may change neuromuscular training, and that will teach the brain to fire muscles correctly. Your yoga pants and socks will give you tips on how to make sure motions are correct, and will even be able to tell you if your postures are off. These clothes may also be able to detect hydration levels. Future tech may also monitor how much sun exposure we get and let us know the best settings to work out. Artificial intelligence will also be able to customize your workouts. Sam Lane will join us with a look at the forecast next, but coming up, some changes that Nissan will make that will allow for tax credit qualifying.
Well, we're halfway through the holiday weekend and we had some sunshine, we had some storms as well, so we've had a mixed bag and it looks like that's going to continue right on through the rest of the weekend. Right now, let's take a look down the road in Seneca, Missouri at the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Looks like a pretty pleasant evening down there, as well as across most of the 4 states. I did want to talk about Earl a little bit. We have a tropical storm down in the Atlantic Ocean. Earl is expected to become a hurricane by 1 o'clock on Tuesday, but the good news is it looks like it's going to be well east of the United States and really cause any problems for the fishes out there in the Atlantic. Closer to home, we had some storms earlier today, but now we have just one lone shower, and it's over here just north and west of Chautauqua and south and west of Oswego, and also maybe a little bit of a sprinkle there south of Columbus, and that is about it. But we could see more storms again develop tomorrow, so if you're heading out to the lakes, be aware of that. If you're heading over to Grand Lake, they're about a foot below normal right now, and over in Beaver Lake, they are also about a foot below normal. But Table Rock is actually about 3 feet below normal, and the champion right now is Stockton. They are 4.2 feet below normal. So if you're heading out on the boats, just be aware of the lake levels being a little bit less than what they normally are. Temperatures this afternoon were very toasty across the area, especially out to the west, where they got close to 100 degrees in Neodesha. Here in Joplin, we topped out at 87 before things started to cool down with those showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures right now are in the mid to upper 70s across most of the area, a few low 80s and even mid 80s. Currently right now in Independence. Dew points, they're up there because of the rainfall that we've had, but it's also making it feel a little bit more uncomfortable out there with sticky to muggy conditions right now. Your allergies, they're also bad, but mainly with ragweed. Today was 9.9 out of 12, and tomorrow's even going to be worse with 11.0 out of 12. Currently in Joplin, we're sitting at 76. East-southeasterly winds, dew point is 76, or it feels like 76 because the dew point is currently at 68 degrees. Your future track looks like this. Lows tonight, generally in the mid to upper 60s, maybe a few 70s like at Coffeyville and Independence. And then tomorrow afternoon, scattered showers and storms again across our area with highs in the mid to upper 80s, maybe even some 90-degree weather out towards the west. And then as we go through Sunday night into Monday morning, lows once again in the mid to upper 60s to right around 70 degrees. And then as we go through your Labor Day, it looks like temperatures are going to be in the mid 80s, maybe even some 90s showing up like in Parsons and Nowata, with scattered showers possible once again. And then as we go into Tuesday morning, lows in the mid 60s, upper 60s, also around 67 here in Joplin. The rain tracker, not a lot on the forecast, very few areas expecting precipitation. But if you do get underneath one of those thunderstorms, it will certainly be helpful. Over the next 7 days, we're looking at 87 tomorrow, 88 on Monday with a 20% chance of isolated storms. That continues into Tuesday, but then it turns dry as we go in towards next weekend.
I always find it interesting how hurricanes can impact us landlocked people.
Yes, if they take the right track, they can really impact us. And it sounds like it's going to take a hurricane to get this drought broken.
I mean, that'll be good for us. But I remember when I was in middle school, there was a hurricane on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I grew up, in the Midwest. And so it rained for like a week straight because of that. And so I've always just found it interesting how much weather impacts,
Yeah, they bring a lot of rainfall in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Sam. And next, what student loan forgiveness means for college graduate unemployment rates. Job rates for college graduate students improve, but perhaps hurt a loan forgiveness position. The August jobs report shows a 1.9 unemployment rate for college graduates, last seen in February's 2020 pandemic period. Data experts at the Heritage Foundation says jobs for college graduates have pay keeping up with inflation and question their need for immediate loan forgiveness. President Biden has pledged $500 billion in funds to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 in student loan debt. The experts also say the average worker has seen a wage drop of 5% during inflation. A Japanese-based auto company says changes will come for one of its electric cars to help customers get tax credits. Nissan executives say they're going to make adjustments to their Leaf hatchback. The company wants American buyers to take advantage of $7,500 tax credits made available under the recent Inflation Reduction Act. The Leaf currently doesn't qualify because its batteries aren't made in the U.S. Nissan says it will make changes in sourcing, production, and sales, but hasn't specified yet what changes will allow for tax credit qualifying. A key chip maker for gaming, graphics, and artificial intelligence gets a reprieve from the government for sales after bans with NVIDIA. And NVIDIA will be allowed to export some of its chips through March 1st of next year. The U.S. government has banned sales of two chips to Chinese customers, the H100 and the A100, because of potential weapons use. The prohibition had caused a stock sell-off, with shares falling 15% this week. NVIDIA will also allow to be sold chips from its Hong Kong facility through September 1st of next year. Coming up, the popular sports drink Gatorade announces the release of a new drink infused with energy. A drink brand best known for decades as a hydration and carb replacement drink is adding high energy to its lineup. A report says the PepsiCo company, owners of Gatorade, will enter the energy-fused drink category with a new one called Fast Twitch. The new drink will contain caffeine and is for use before working out. It will also have electrolytes and vitamins. Fast Twitch will be commercially available by February, with a target audience older than 18. But meanwhile, the NFL will use it during the 2022 football season. And that's it for now. Our first 30 minutes on the KOAM Fox 14 News. We'll be back with more after this. Now at 9, authorities identify the Mississippi man that stole a plane from the Tupelo Regional Airport. Plus, what travelers should expect while taking end-of-summer trips over Labor Day weekend. And local softball teams play in the Paige Neal Christina Freeman softball tournament this weekend.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Millions of Americans are hitting the roads, taking to the skies, or heading to the beaches as the summer unofficially draws to the close this Labor Day weekend. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman is at LAX with more busy travel from this weekend.
Some 12.7 million Americans are expected to travel over this holiday weekend, and that's up by more than 20% compared to this time last year. And this is going to be a big test for U.S. airlines as far as their operations are concerned. FlightAware shows more than 1,200 flights have been delayed so far today in the U.S., and more than 90 have been canceled. This adds to months of travel headaches for passengers. There were thousands of canceled flights over the July 4th and Memorial Day weekends. This year alone, about 2.6% of all flights, more than 146,000 flights have been canceled, and nearly 1.3 million have been delayed, according to FlightAware. Now, a lot of those problems are due to COVID, airline crew shortages, a lack of equipment, and massive schedule cuts despite strong passenger demand. The CEO of Frontier Airlines tells Fox travelers should really think twice about which airline they choose.
Well, I think this summer's been a challenge for a lot of carriers. I think there's been significant cancellations, as you're covering. I will say, though, in Frontier's case, we're having one of the best summers we've ever had. In fact, in August, we canceled less than 1% of our flights. So I think, there's big differences among these carriers. So make sure that you understand who you're flying.
As part of its ongoing campaign to get airlines to improve service, the Department of Transportation just launched a customer service dashboard to show travelers what kind of compensation, refund, or guarantees they can get if their flights are canceled or delayed. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg commented on this, saying passengers deserve transparency and clarity. Also, thousands of pilots have been picketing throughout the year, fighting for an increase in pay and schedule changes amid the surge in travel. Here in Los Angeles, Delta Airlines pilots have been picketing outside LAX, calling for an end to their delayed contract negotiations that began earlier this year. They say if an agreement is not reached, they might take stronger action.
And so what's going to happen is, for the passengers, is we're going to have a strike possibly in the future, possibly during the holidays.
And as for those choosing not to fly this holiday weekend, the roads are expected to be busy too. Gas prices are down by about 20% compared to earlier this year, and a lot of drivers are taking advantage of that. Reporting in Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Labor Day weekend travels are not excluding weather. Sam, what do you have for us?
Yeah, it's been a little bit wet in some areas today. You can see on the radar, we had some storms earlier down in Oklahoma and also in southeastern Kansas. Now we just have one lone shower over there in southeastern Crawford County, and that's about it. This afternoon, we made it up to 87 degrees after starting out at 68, which was above normal, but at least we weren't so far above normal, getting close to that record of 102 back in 1954. So it can still get on 100 degrees in September. I'll be back in a minute to let you know if we're going to get anywhere close to that 100-degree mark later on in the forecast.
A Mississippi man is in custody after threatening to fly a plane into a Walmart today. Police are now looking for a motive. Fox News correspondent Charles Watson has more on the story.
The suspect has been identified as Corey Patterson. Police say he's being charged with grand larceny and making terroristic threats, with federal charges pending in connection to the plane police say he stole early this morning and threatened to crash into a Walmart. We heard from Tupelo Police Chief John Quacker earlier today, who tells us Patterson is a 10-year employee of Tupelo Aviation, where he fueled planes. Police say they're not sure if he is in fact a licensed pilot, but they do believe he has at least some flight experience that made it possible for him to not only possibly fuel the aircraft, but to steal it and fly it for as long as he did. At about 5:23 a.m. Central Time, police say Patterson called Lee County 911 and threatened to fly the plane into the store, and that's when emergency personnel jumped into action, evacuating that Walmart and getting people out of the immediate area.
Numerous major streets in Tupelo were shut down to help save lives during this critical incident. Negotiators from Tupelo Police Department made contact with the pilot and were able to convince him to not carry out this deed and to land the aircraft at Tupelo Airport.
Police say Patterson didn't have experience landing a plane, so they had a private pilot coaching him through it. But he abruptly diverted from the landing and continued flying north. At around 10:08 a.m., air controllers lost contact with the plane, but fortunately, they got confirmation that the plane had landed in a field about 4 minutes later in Ripley, Mississippi. Police also tell us that Patterson made a post to Facebook while he was up in the sky, essentially apologizing to his family, saying he didn't want to hurt anyone before ending it with a goodbye. Now, we're told that Patterson's family was at the Tupelo Police Department and was in contact with him while he was up in the plane and presumably helped convince him to land that plane safely. The mayor tells us that the family is very grateful that Patterson wasn't hurt and any innocent bystanders in the area weren't hurt. But boy, a close call for folks in Tupelo, Mississippi. Charles Swanson, Fox News.
And in Memphis, a frantic search is underway for a young mother who was apparently abducted while out for a run on Friday. Investigators are reviewing surveillance video that captured images of the incident. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff takes a look.
Eliza Fletcher teaches pre-K and is a married mom of 2 young boys. The nature of her disappearance and the fact that at least some of the abduction was caught on video has gripped the Memphis area and beyond. Those who are familiar with the family tell Fox News that running is a big part of Fletcher's routine and that she often does so early in the morning. So 4:30 a.m. would not be an unusual time for her to be out. She was last seen around that time yesterday wearing a bright pink top and purple or blue shorts running near the University of Memphis. Authorities, apparently working with surveillance footage, say that an unknown man approached Fletcher during her run. After a struggle, she was then forced into this dark-colored SUV. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations describes it as a GMC Terrain. Her water bottle and smashed phone were found near the scene. Hart Robinson is a friend of Fletcher's family.
Want to find her. We don't know. We don't know what's going on, but everybody's desperately looking for her.
Yesterday, police did carry out a search at Fletcher's Memphis home. A vehicle was towed and several items were carried out by investigators. Memphis police say no arrests have been made and that they are still looking for information. Now, the New York Post is reporting that Eliza's grandfather is the founder of the multi-billion-dollar hardware distribution company, Orgel. Her family is offering a $50,000 reward for information that leads to a suspect. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
And next, concerns at Europe's largest nuclear power plant. That and more next. Europe's biggest nuclear power plant is caught in the middle of the war in Ukraine. A team of UN nuclear inspectors arrived at the site just over a day ago, and they say heavy shelling had knocked the plant partly offline. That's raising fears of possible Chernobyl-style disaster. Fox News correspondent Alex Hogan has the latest from Kyiv.
It was widely believed that having international experts at Europe's largest nuclear power plant would stop the fighting outside, but that has proven not to be the case. The International Atomic Energy Agency says this is the most dangerous situation it has ever faced. New shelling this morning knocked the plant offline once again. Russia's defense ministry today claims that Ukrainian forces tried to land near the facility overnight. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he specifically wants to hear the IAEA call for a demilitarized zone now that they're at the site. The IAEA didn't specifically reference that, but did underscore its own primary goal.
Frankly speaking, there are enough political players in this game, and there are enough people saying what they feel or condemning one or the other. The nuclear watchdog has to remain what it is. The nuclear security, safety, and non-proliferation watchdog, and it has to do its job, to have its credibility.
A new independent study found that the majority of Russians support the war. Meanwhile, more attacks overnight turning parts of towns to rubble. 6 months into the invasion, it's a reoccurring sight. And one artist came to Ukraine through the organization Beautify Earth to paint over the damage in hard-hit cities as a symbol of solidarity.
If you can have something that makes you feel better each day with just a glance, then it's worth it.
The town of Irpin suffered significant damage, and 6 months into the war, 20% of the population still has nowhere to live. In Kyiv, Ukraine, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Danny Tozer is next with sports. And later, how an NFL team is showing support to Uvalde.
Well, it's been a warm start to the Labor Day weekend, but of course that is typical for late summer, and we're experiencing temperatures starting to fall off a little bit right now. Not too bad out there. Let's take a look outside at the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort Camp down in Seneca. It looks pretty nice down there, as well as here in Joplin. Did want to talk a little bit about Earl. Earl is a tropical storm out in the Atlantic, and it's not really expected to impact anybody. It is expected to become a hurricane later on Tuesday, but it's going to be well east of the United States, so we're not really concerned about Earl. All right, we are concerned about scattered showers and storms that developed earlier this afternoon, especially in southeastern Kansas, and we have one little shower now just to the west of Chautauqua and east of Edna, but that is about it, and that is what is left over from those thunderstorms earlier this afternoon. We do need some rainfall because the lakes are starting to get lower. Right now, Grand is about a foot below normal. Beaver, if you're heading out to Beaver Lake tomorrow, it's also about a foot below normal. And Table Rock Lake is about 3 feet below normal. But the champion is Stockton Lake, where they are 4.2 feet below normal. So we definitely need some rain to start running off into these lakes to bring them back up to where they should be. Temperatures right now are not that bad. We're seeing temperatures right now generally in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees across the area. This afternoon we saw temperatures in the upper 90s out towards the west. We topped out at 87 here in Joplin, but right now we're seeing readings in the 70s, maybe a few 80s also showing up out in Independence, where it's currently 84 degrees. Dew points, yeah, they're up there too because of the rainfall, generally in the upper 60s to lower 70s, even some 50s showing up towards the north, so it's feeling a little bit more comfortable up there. Not too bad, but sticky and muggy conditions pretty much everywhere else. Also, what's not bad, well, I take that back. It's been bad. The pollen has been really out of control. 9.9 today out of 12, and tomorrow's only going to be worse with 11. So it's mostly ragweed. So if you're allergic to that, that is what you've been suffering from. 76 right now in Joplin. Feels like 76. Dew point is 68. Pressure starting to fall a little bit right now. Future track forecast, mid-60s tonight with scattered isolated showers possible mainly to the south. Then tomorrow as we head through the afternoon, temperatures approaching 90 degrees out to the west, 80s here in Joplin with isolated scattered storms once again across our area. Then as we go into Monday morning, we're going to see lows in the mid-60s, pretty much wall to wall with isolated showers mainly down in Oklahoma. Then on Monday afternoon, again, temperatures in the upper 80s to right around 90 degrees with isolated scattered showers around our area. Then as we go into Tuesday morning, again, lows in the mid to upper 60s to around 70 degrees with a little bit of fog thrown in some of those areas where it's going to rain. Not everybody's going to get rain over the holiday weekend. Isolated amounts could approach maybe half an inch, but most areas are going to be bone dry through most of the weekend as we go through the forecast. You can see that continues right into Monday with isolated showers only with a high of around 88. Then we're going to be seeing close to 90 degrees during the afternoon and lows in the mid-60s with dry weather continuing right into next weekend, Jalen.
Dry weather? Did I just hear dry weather?
I know. I wish we had something to break this drought, but we're just going to have to stay and hold off a little bit longer.
Well, hopefully that hurricane brings in some rain. And
that'd be nice, but it's going to be a while.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Sam. And coming up in sports, NEO aims for a 2-0 start to the season. Plus, Joplin Softball faces Nevada in their tournament finale. Danny Terzer has highlights next.
Joplin Softball is off to a great start this season. The Eagles are 9-2 overall and have won 3 of 4 games at the Paige Neal Christina Freeman Softball Tournament this weekend. Joplin aims to stay hot facing Nevada in their final game of the tournament. Eagles start fast. Libby Munn hits a 2-run home run to make it 4-0. More from her later. Joplin extends their lead in the third. Riley Kelly floats one into shallow left. That's an RBI single, now 8-3. Tigers answer with a big bottom half. Skylar Burns hits it back up the middle. Teresa Don comes home, and at the end of 3, Nevada has fought back to tie it at 8. But then Munn back in a big spot. She crushes her second homer of the day. Eagles back on top, and Joplin hangs on to win 12-8. Webb City is also playing in the tournament this weekend. The Cardinals pick up their first win in their first game today, a 7-5 victory over Monette. Webb aims for back-to-back wins now, facing Seneca in their second of 2 games this afternoon. Second inning, Abby Jamrose lines one down the middle. Callie Fields comes home for the first run of the game. Next inning, Callie Rhodes at bat here. She goes deep for a solo home run. Cardinals now, Riley Haynes crushes a home run of her own. It's a 2-run jack. Then in the 5th, Kenzie Wynn lays down a bunt. Rylan McFarland slides into home, and Haynes will score as well for Webb City. That makes it 10-4 Cardinals. Webb goes on to win it 12-5. Turning now to some junior college football, the NEO Norsemen are back in action today at Red Robertson Field, part of a 3-game home stretch to open the season. NEO won their season opener last week 44-0. Today the Norsemen get to 2-0 with another shutout victory, 78-0 over Gordon's Prep, and I did the math for you. They've scored 122 points in their first 2 games and have given up 0. NEO is back in action next Saturday, hosting a tough one against Kilgore. The Red Ravens are 1-0 and hit the road for the first time this year. They enter tonight's matchup ranked 14th in the country. Coffeyville leads Dodge City 38-10 in the 4th quarter. Isaiah Velez connects with Garrett Almond for 6. Plus, the Red Ravens have 4 rushing touchdowns, 3 from Dorian Lewis and another from Fiante Cutler. That's a look at sports. We'll be right back.
A St. Louis area football team is on a winless streak, and it turns to a teammate's winning personality, whose physical attributes show that having no arms doesn't mean having no drive and no will to win in life. Fox's Stephanie Rothman has more on that story.
Let's go. It's on their side.
You said, Coach? It feels exciting. And we practice hard and we're going to succeed.
The Riverview Gardens Rams haven't won a game in 4 years. But this season, they plan on finally turning the tide.
You learn more from your mistakes than you do your victories. And after 1,400 days, we've learned quite a bit.
The Friday Night Lights shining a spotlight on a new addition to the team.
I've been thinking about it all night, trying not to overthink it. It's the feeling when you make it. The feeling you get when you make a field goal.
But Brandon is not your average kicker.
I've liked sports since I was, younger. Playing the game with my feet, with everybody that I was around. Everybody being shocked.
Born without both of his arms, most wouldn't think sports would be in the cards for him. But with practice and a lot of heart, he's proving them wrong.
People help me with certain stuff like my shoes and putting my clothes on sometimes, stuff like that. But when it comes to kicking, I am worthy.
With the support of his team and coaches, he's been able to grow his skills.
His work ethic is infectious.
Going from the sidelines as a backup kicker to the front lines for the first time Friday.
I have a sister with a disability. I was raised from birth on that she doesn't get treated any different. The same thing with Brandon.
The players are taught that if you believe in yourself, success will follow. And Brandon hopes with a kick, he can do just that. Not only did they win their first game, but it was a total wipeout. Now they're just hoping to build off of that momentum with Brandon at their side to get a couple more wins. Reporting in South St. Louis, Stephanie Rothman, Fox 2 News.
Isn't that something?
That is something.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a great story.
All right, Sam, what do you have for us?
We have a great forecast. If you're heading out this weekend, isolated storms possible with highs near 90, lows in the mid 60s, and it looks like the next chance of rain will not arrive until next week, as we have a 30% chance of storms then. But until then, pretty dry.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you for tuning in and making us part of your night. That's a wrap for us here on the KOAM News at 9. We'll see you here tomorrow.